We on it on a whole nother level. I didn't even get to one. We here right now. You are back. It is another one. This is Lyrical Ones, episode 39. I am turned. And the reason why, right, is to check in. Bspokeit. How are you doing this evening?
I am doing absolutely fabulous this evening. It is my big brother's 37th birthday. And so his wife took him out on a surprise adventure, and we got all the children. So they all just went home. So I'm fabulous. I love auntie time. How are you
Teamwork made the
doing?
dream work.
Exactly. What you
Um,
up to, Alfluent? Yes, I just waited for you to take that big old bite of that
for
burrito
the
before I asked you
For
that.
those that are only going to listen to this, Alfluent just took a big old bite out of a burrito. This is like one of maybe 3 or 4 different instances we've been able to catch him eating on the podcast. And yeah, so Alfluent, how's the burrito and how are you?
I got live mitochondria. I got muscle tone that asking for calories, and so here they are getting what they asked for. This is a good burrito. I'm grateful. I'm doing great. I just picked up my
Got a
right.
hunch.
You got to digest. You got to bring it all the way down. Can't have no indigestion, man. We got to be well-oiled machine. Got to grind it down. That's what the teeth is for. I got all of them.
You're right.
But I just picked up my first 10
So what's going on
from
in
my
society? What's going on in society right now?
Like, no, we are not. He's like, put those down. We are not doing that right now.
What is going on in society right now?
and
Right?
so
We are
stay tuned for my personal Twitch account or my YouTube where I'll be unboxing those. Just where I'm gonna play Sineo and Venom music the whole time over the whole
that is fitting.
stream.
That is real fitting. The thing was that we were okay. So first off, let's kind of just go through an agenda real fast, right? We had our check in.
Okay, I'm
right?
doing great. I'm doing great.
And
It's Wednesday. We're here in the Bay. Bspokeit is in the East, in Atlanta, and it's a wonderful day. What's the day? It's February. No, it's March now. It's March already. It's March again. It was just March. We coming up on the anniversary of the shelter in place.
We could probably argue that March never left. We've been in March for a whole year.
This is my second burrito in an hour. That's all I got to say.
what's going on in society right now? That's all I'm saying. It's real out here. For those that don't know, for those that are only listening, we have very different puzzled looks on our faces. Okay,
Yes,
it is a situation right now, right? We have a guest, right? Yay area to the Yay, right? From Yay to the Yay, right? From the Yay area to Atlanta. You feel me? So the thing is, right? We do have a guest this evening that will be joining us shortly. In the meantime, we wanted to get the conversation going, and it was influenced by Alfluent, right? Because he decided to show off his cards, right? And the thing about society right now, we're going through various cycles, right? I'm witnessing the trend of kind of the early 2000s, late 99 clothing trends. And now, as my peers, I'm witnessing all my peers, they're diving and just going straight deep into the Pokemon territory of opening cards. And it's such a engaging experience. People are ATL to the SFC. You feel me? We out here.
Bay
So
to the Bay.
you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So the thing is, Kirk Davis coming through with the comments. So the thing is that I was just like, at some point, right? We gotta call it like we see it, right? We are in a revolution going back to what it was, but in a new era, right? Because it's not like the same old cards. These are new cards, right? And Pokemon is showing its relevance, right? We are now in a new phase of time where it's popular again, and those things that we hold and we cherish are finding new relevance with a new audience, right? It's now being passed on to another generation. And I'm captivated by it, but I'm also somewhat like there's a piece of me, right? There's just this slight little tint that's like, I don't know, and I gotta let that go. I gotta learn to let that go because where that comes from is it comes from an insecurity, right? An insecurity where I held on to something tight that I felt like was near and dear to my heart that not a lot of people was rocking with, right? Or may have lost their way from their connection, and now they're revisiting it and they're bringing it back. And it's people who are authentically definitely in it, and there's people who just are opportunists in the moment, right? They're just seeing a wave and they're like, oh, people getting popping. Oh, well, let me go get popping, right? Like Alfluent, I know go back. We go back, right? We go back to that era and time of what it meant to be a young black geek at a time when there wasn't a lot of, representation of young black geeks, right? So, I'm giving him a hard time only because it's at the
It's
time,
okay.
right? But it's really not about him. It's about everybody who's an opportunist who's seeing this as a thing of like, how do I use this to like bring the attention to me, right? It's not about the love of the culture and the love of what it did for all of us, right? The original 150/151 Pokemon and what that was like. But now here we are. We're in this era, and there's Pokemon that look like trash bags. So that's my Pokemon rant. That's my check-in piece. It's true. There's Pokemon that look like trash bags. Go and look it up. But what I wanted to do, right, was given the subject at hand that will be coming up later, I wanted to know what is everybody's background with like performing arts? What is being like? What is your experience or lack thereof of kind of being in theater, being on stage, having to perform in front of others, in front of a crowd? What has that been like for you?
So I actually grew up a theater kid. I used to do plays when I was a kid. And then in high school, I used to do like stage management for the school productions, helping people learn lines. One of my best friends in the world is an actress. And so we were roommates through all of college, and I was always helping her run lines, prepare for performances and whatnot. So it just so happens that now myself as a storyteller, spoken word artist, poet, theater comes into a lot of my current work as a performer. So yeah, I'm a theater kid through and through. We used to have this saying, like when one of us was being dramatic for no reason, we would be like, save the drama for the stage. But I don't know how to do that because it's just my personality to be dramatic.
I feel that. I mean, it's nothing to. I feel like it's you just being authentic, and not being repressed, right? Not being,
Yeah.
held into the boundaries of what society dictates of what's going on in society, right? Society gonna try and tell you, oh, don't express yourself in that way. But it's like, who am I hurting by just being honest and authentic and transparent in my feelings?
That's right.
How old were you when you first remember hitting the stage and being like, this is it? Like, what was that? What age was that? Like, where were you? What was going on?
This is so funny. I was maybe 8 or 9. And we were doing this church play about, it was like supposed to be, this is the church theater department or creative arts department deciding to be creative. It's Easter, and they decided to take this new twist on what happened at the resurrection. So everybody is going around trying to figure out what's going on. And I was like a modern day reporter walking around interviewing people about what they saw and what happened. And so I was in my bag. I'm not gonna lie. I was in my bag. I had on a suit. I had my hair up in a bun, and I was going around with my microphone like, we are live here in Jerusalem or wherever it is that Jesus was buried. And we are just witnessing such a dramatic scene. I was straight. Let's go all the way to CNN with this one. And that's when I knew, like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
You were 8 years old or 9 years old?
I was 8 or 9. Mm-hmm.
Just feeling yourself. Like, I got my suit on. Here I am. I'm ready to show up, show out. Yeah. I like the twist on that, like having to be a CNN reporter. Like, we are live at a captive. Like, you're bringing me to the moment. I appreciate that.
Captivating.
Yeah, for real. Because I'm thinking about it, like being a little kid. Like, funny enough, that ties into like my first time hitting the stage, which you really threw me off because I forgot all about it. I was in preschool at a Catholic school, and I was one of the three kings, one of the three wise men that was delivering presents to Jesus as he was being born. And I was in preschool. Imagine the dynamics. I had a crush on who played Mary too. That was my first kiss. Like, this is a lot going on when I'm little, but yes, that was my first time hitting the stage, and I was like, as much as I appreciate this, I think I like it too much. I think for me personally, like that's where, hence the mask, right? I'm not trying to let nothing get to my head. It's a mask on my face. So the thing is like, keeping my ego at bay, because the times that I find myself performing, I get lost in the thrill and the excitement of the performance. So, you know, you definitely brought up a lot for me. But Alfluent, what about you? Given your mastery of communication, what was the first? You see how I tie that in there? I'm always gonna tie it in. Come on, man, gotta be true to yourself. So, when was the first time that you can recall that you got that stage moment? You were like, "Ooh, okay, what's this?"
I was dressed up like a stegosaurus, singing a song about a stegosaurus at about 3 or 4 years old. And it's like pre-K, but like before pre-K, it's like early education stuff. And we was on stage. We had to dress up like this large stegosaurus, and everyone had, a little, I guess they like a spike, depending on where you were in the body of the stegosaurus. And the song was "My Name is Stegosaurus." I don't remember the lyrics, but I remember the name, and I remember dressing up. I don't know if there's pictures anywhere, but it's my job to bring life to that spike, right, to that role. And for me, I'm always for the team and the community. So it wasn't about me shining. It's just about me looking the part, so we could all look great as a stegosaurus together. And throughout, I guess, the themes in my life, there's different opportunities to be on stage as a youth. And I guess I never really shied away from the activity, even if I wasn't clamoring for the attention or the spotlight. um I always just kind of felt the need, and telling stories, and uh sharing, I think, my experience, or someone else's experience, even the experience of a stegosaurus. uh, but yeah, I think it's always been important for me to learn stories and share them.
No, definitely. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. It's one of those where I feel like those moments of exposure at an early age leads to, man, tear it up, man, do your thing. But those moments lead to kind of, in some way, in some capacity, where we are now, right? Like how we show up, right? Swift came through with the third one. Dang,
Yes,
hungry much? I
yes,
mean, not really.
yes, maybe just a little bit. It's calorie time.
Calorie time. Got to make it
Thanks,
happen. Got to make
Swift.
it count.
Thank holding me down. Yes,
For real.
we out here.
So, it's I just think about that. I think about how these early childhood experiences and exposures to these different types of art forms lead to, like me being in position to always being kind of the outspoken one, or having to facilitate groups, or having to teach others and give information, being a referral source for a lot of people, or being able to skill people up. A lot of that comes from my ability to communicate and my presence in a room, right? Like I've worked in a lot of different communities, and one thing that always is, kind of brought up to me or shown to me is, you really have an ability to, get the attention of, or to lead a group of very rowdy individuals. And it's like, I don't see them as rowdy. I see them as energetic. I see them as they're opportunists in the moment of trying to get attention, right? So it's like, how do I take what I'm trying to convey and give it to them in the way that they need it, right? And so, I wanted to bring that up because it does tie into our guests. It does tie into some of the things that we'll be talking about. And I really wanted to touch on the importance of the arts, right? And especially, being people of color, what that means when we're in a world where that is that is that is a resource, that is a valuable kind of avenue for us to travel down, right? It's an attribute that often is associated with Black culture, right? Us being performers, us being artists, us being entertainers, but at the same time, it's a skill set, right? To have one of the most impactful kind of forms of music, not to mention like being at the forefront of every wave of American popular music that sweeps the world. But now, like more than ever, like hip hop is one of the most long lasting genres of music, they say, and has such a powerful and such a prevalent importance. I mean, you could look at any act right now and there's always going to show up some form of the hip hop culture and the hip hop narrative. And B actually brought up a movie, right, that is a musical and has some incredible talented people. So B, what was that movie that you brought up?
It's Roger and Hammerstein's version of Cinderella. And at the time it was released, it was like one of the most groundbreaking pieces of work at the time because it had like a completely diverse cast, interracial couples, and of course Brandy and Whitney Houston were the musical stars of the musical, along with Bernadette Peters and Whoopi Goldberg and a whole bunch of other amazing, talented Broadway performers. But the way they were able to integrate the culture of not even hip hop, but obviously the cousin of hip hop, which is R&B inspired music, into something so classic, Cinderella, and make it this beautiful, unique thing was magical, truly.
Do you remember the time you first watched it? What that meant to you at the time? Like, like that time, especially.
Oh my gosh. Can I tell you? First of all, a Black girl being Cinderella. What? Are you kidding me? And then Brandy was one of my favorite singers at the time. So Cinderella, not only being a Black girl, but my favorite singer, was like, I can go on to glory now. I'm good. This was all I needed in life. It was so inspiring. So inspiring. To this day, I still sing all the songs. I still know all of it. When it dropped on Disney Plus, it was like, bet, let's go. Let's just take it all the way back. Since I can't play the VHS anymore, because I'm pretty sure I watched it too many times and broke it. But the feeling was just this feeling of freedom of like, if she can do it, I can do anything feeling. Yeah.
No, definitely. I think that did they play the whole thing or was it a mini series that played on ABC on like Friday or Saturday nights or something? I felt like it was one or the other. Like it was because I remember it was a special event.
It was.
It was something that everyone had access to, which I thought was profound because it was on, major network television, right? Like on in a kind of a weird way. Me growing up with the rest of my peers, I could recall television at the time. Like we had Living Single, we had Martin, we had Living Color, we had these shows with Black representation, right? It extended to the Wayans brothers, to the Jamie Foxx show, and Moesha, right? Like these Hang with Mr. Cooper. Like there's so many shows growing up from, Family Matters to Fresh Prince to the Cosby Show to a different world. Like I remember major network television was like a wave of Black characters, of Black storytelling, but then to take a twist of a classic traditional kind of like, what people always associate with Disney is Cinderella and Snow White and all these white girls, but to have it be Brandy in the role, right, and knowing what weight comes with that, right, to have Whitney Houston and what comes with that, right, Whoopi Goldberg, it's like I couldn't understand at the time how epic it was. I just took it for granted, like, oh, that's dope. That's cool. Right. And now it's like when I look at TV now and I look at the stories that are being shown, it's such a stark contrast where, this is 2021 and it feels like we just now trying to get back to that, right? Like Netflix and Hulu, like, oh yeah, we gonna snatch up all the Black TV shows now because y'all done got pissed off at all the white people inside the summer of 2020. So we got to throw Sister on Netflix. Okay, I guess that's the move.
But, it's weird how it's like that. Like, okay, Roger and Hammerstein did that. And then it was like this, like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And then it just stopped. And I'm just going back to something you just said. It's almost like 2020 came around and then all of a sudden people woke up again. And it almost makes you wonder, like, why did we go back to sleep? Like, why didn't the wave of what was started then keep going? Where we see, Black characters as the main characters, Asian characters as the main characters. Like, if you notice in Roger and Hammerstein's Cinderella, the both of them are people of color. A Black woman and a I think Korean American man are the protagonists. Um, and it was groundbreaking. So it makes you wonder, like, okay, why did we have that one moment of magic and then everybody just forgot about it until people start protesting in the streets, and now we all want to be woke? Like, what's up with that?
For real. Like, for real. Like, it's one of those things that is kind of like, yeah, you would think of how much impact it would have to have more stories like that, where there's more of a realistic and thoughtful approach to the storytelling that's representative of something that is fantastical, right? That something is imaginative, because a lot of times that has influence and it gives exposure and it normalizes people's response to what they see in the world, right? Like, entertainment has the ability to broadcast imagery and get people exposed to things that it's so difficult to do in any other capacity, in any other form, right? You might be the one Black kid at an all white school, and that one television show might give people insight, right? The more that you have that representation, the more you have that authenticity, the awareness, the education, and the entertainment, right, helps it set in, right? It's the sugar, it's that spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down, right? So to me, it is a thing where I hear you, like, it's crazy to see and hear, especially at a time like this, like, not to minimize what's going on within the Black and Asian communities, but to really come in a really weird way in this weird full circle of like, remember that one movie that took one of the most popular singers and all the actors and actresses at the time who were people of color and paired them up in a way that was like, oh, this is interracial dating and this is not a subject or a topic that is often discussed, right? But if we were to continue those narratives and those stories and just let those authentic streams flow, who knows what type of influence that may have had on the youth, right? Like, on the kids that grew up, on the next generations of the creatives, right? In terms of what we now know as stories. Because I think that, like, to me, people are like, oh yeah, it's just movies and whatever. But some of those movies be like life-changing moments for people. Those movies, those songs, those moments in time are the things, like, I know for me, NERD, when I found that album, I felt like I found a piece of myself, right? I found an awkward multiracial group that was singing about all kinds of things, and it gave me a sense of belonging at a time that I felt like I needed it most, right? And I say that for myself, and I've heard other people say similar stories for other things. And so, I just feel like the exposure to the arts, but also kind of having that exposure of just different cultures and different faces, right? Different shades of people is so important. And especially now, it's like, we ain't got to be angry for y'all to give us entertainment, right? Like, y'all forget, y'all gave us Black Panther, right? Because someone had to produce it, someone had to allow and give the green light, and it was one of the biggest films of all time, right? So I felt like it was necessary to touch on that, just given the fact that, yeah, like, the Cinderella story is back, right? At least the one that I know more than I know. I can honestly say I've probably watched the Brandy one 10 times more than I've ever sat through and watched the original animated version of it. Like, I,
Easily.
It's
yeah,
the
like
only good one. Let's just be real. It's the only
I
good one.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
I said what I said.
Let it be known then.
Here on Lyrical Ones, episode 39. You heard it here.
Episode 39. You heard it here first. Okay. Get it right. I mean, it was cool for what it was. I guess at the time I wasn't there. I don't know the context, right? But in terms of this one, right, I was there. I got to see it. I got to witness it, and I know what it means to me and the people around me. And I think that, for those that have kids, expose them to the arts, get them into, theater programs, get them in some sense of creative, just places and spaces. I think that there's so much that can be gathered, right? Transferable skills for those that know and those that don't. Transferable skills, right? Is taking skills that can, kind of meld over into other arenas, into other ways, right? Whether that's the ability to public speak or having presence or knowing how to memorize a script, all those different things have its importance and skills that may build in other areas and other industries and other roles. So, I think it's something that we should really think about. And, hopefully people are able to pick it up and take from it and learn, right? Because I mean, I know for me, like, whether it was like movies or acting, like those moments gave me a sense of self-esteem. Someone saw me as worthy enough to be a character to act out, right? To show I have time on a stage or in front of a camera. I think those things are impactful. I mean, Alfluent, what did you do for you, right? Being this talented, incredible MC and having this ability to kind of hit a stage and impact people in a way that, if you're just walking down the street, nobody would know.
I think it gave me license to really be myself. The more I was exposed to characters that looked like me or thought like me or felt like me or experienced the world the way that I did or saw the world the way that I did, uh, it gave me a license to be authentic in myself and interpret script or play um, plays or lines through my lens, instead of just something that I may have seen, but having it go through me first, having the words go through me and my experience and my scope and my life, and have it go through that have the light kind of refract through my experience of single parent home, single income home, inner city, latchkey after school programs, you know, dealing with a temper, growing up with asthma, and taking those feelings and portraying those feelings on a stage, confident that someone else may need to see themselves in a character that I may play or in a story that I may tell. And if like we had a guest on before, Dave Marks, who said, if we could just, if one person is impacted by my performance or by my material, right, then it's worth it. And if we can change people's experience one person at a time, then it's possible to change everybody's experience. And I think when we see those stories kind of disappear from popular culture, then we get people who are minorities, who don't see themselves in their community or see their culture shared in their community. They lose a little bit of freedom and liberty to be their whole self, full of culture, full of history, full of idiosyncrasies, full of cultural practices that they have at home that they could normally share with people who, when they saw people who look like them, or saw the world the way they do. And when you're a minority and you're looking for that, it's kind of hard to find, and so you start to pull from the popular culture, and sometimes people can be shifted away from their identity, at the same time shifted toward adopting something that they didn't necessarily want to choose but chose to survive. And you kind of lose a little bit of freedom when you're in survival mode, even in socioeconomic situations, either in social situations of work, professionalism, or in school, education, where you're interacting with people and you just want to fit in so that you can get things done. And you may not want to be a part of the culture as much as you want to navigate with some peace. And to kind of play defense, you kind of have to take what the offense is giving you, and it's a tough situation sometimes where people end up confused and then have to go and figure themselves out again. We can say, well, this part of my experience at home has been really important to me, and I leave home and it doesn't matter to anyone. And then when I graduate or I change jobs, and then I change situations or arenas or environments or communities, and again I don't see too many people who vibe the way I do. It's like, is what's native and innate to me really something that I should hold on to, right? Maybe I should let go of that, right, to become a vest, Patagonia vest wearing, athleisure wearing, you know on demand shoe wearing person, um, just so I can navigate with some peace before it being interrupted by prejudice or microaggressions, before being interrupted from having a regular normal day, just by people's obliviousness um to who I am as a person, and the culture that I come from.
As Andre said, everybody want a peace of mind. I'm just trying to get a peace of mind. And
That's right.
that's what it reminds me of when you say all that, because from understanding how the arts can help you hone in on your identity, to then when you have your identity, what does it mean to then transverse the world and use that identity as a way to protect yourself or to uplift others, to shine to others, to signal to others, where you belong, right? What does home look like? I think those are important things at a time like this when we're frustrated with a lot of what we're seeing, right? There's changing of the guard, if you will, of here we are, new president. If we were to base it off of a kind of report card right now, it's looking a real, I don't even want to.
Sluggish.
Yeah, it ain't.
Speaking of sluggish, the Pokemon that looks like trash bag is called Trubbish. That's
That is
all.
correct. That is correct. You're very right. Rubbish. But the thing about it is, right, like I think of it in this capacity, in this way. If you are, I just had to say this, if you are a multimillionaire or you're married to a multimillionaire, it should be considered a conflict of interest for you to represent majority of the US public, right? I feel like we need representation that reflects what is the experience of the common American, right? That goes across the board, because when you look at multimillionaires, they only make up 13 to 18% of the United States populace, right? So if that's the case, what happens to that other 70, 80, 90% of people who aren't being represented, right? They're left out because your decisions are based in a world that we have no part in. So I just had to say that, take it to the arts, right? You think of how many programs at schools have been cut and halved due to funding and due to the expense of, well, we don't have, like I know people have seen the poster and people can scoff at it if they want to, but they're like, it'll be a cold day in hell, right? When the military needs to do a bake off, right? When you need to sell cupcakes to raise money for your weapons, right? Whereas every school, right, teachers are coming out of pocket. So, I had to say that. But, more so like, Bspokeit being so multi-talented, right? Having all of these different abilities, right? I've been able to bear witness, I've been able to collaborate, I've been able to see, right? What are those things? How do those things show up in your day-to-day life, right? Where it's easy to take for granted how those different skills or talents could be isolated as just like, oh, I sing or I write or I do these things, right? Like how they show up in the everyday element.
So it's kind of just being, I guess. Um, all of my work right now, I do a lot. I am an independent contractor with about 5 clients, and all of my work kind of goes back to pretty much everything I learned in art school. Everything I learned in my college days when it came to design is what I use now. Um, Everything I learned about creative writing is what I use now. Everything I learned about how to deal with people came from being an artist. So it shows up everywhere, even with my nieces and my nephews. Singing to them, I sing to them more than I sing to anybody. um, so it just shows up. It just shows up everywhere, and it's not a compartmentalized thing. You know what I mean? I'm an artist. I am an artist. It is involved in every single bit and part of who I am and what I do, uh, even down to like today. I was like, I'm not inspired to eat. And my mom was like, well, that's weird. And I'm like, I'm weird. I'm an artist. So I had to like, I need to eat something because if not, it's not good for me to not eat. But I need to eat something that makes me feel inspired today. So I did this random Google search for like healthy, inspired foods and found out there's a vegan place like 5 minutes down the road from my house, which is unheard of in Clinton County like 2 years ago. Well, they said they've been here for 3 or 4 years. So 5 years ago, unheard of. And I ordered like a bunch of little things so I could try all of it so I could see what was inspiring my senses today. And my inspiration came from the last thing I tried, which was an avocado strawberry pineapple smoothie. And I was like, my whole day was worth this moment with this smoothie. But like I said, I didn't set out to, just be a unique weirdo artist. I just am. And so it just leaks into everything that I do, even my food choices sometimes. So
That's
yeah.
right.
I feel that. I was like, man, where's she taking with the avocado strawberry pineapple? That is goodness gracious. I didn't eat yet. I haven't eaten since long ago. So,
Me
I
too.
feel the inspiration. Look at how he did that. For those that don't know, the audio only version, right? Alfluent had a burrito and already stated earlier that he had two within I don't even know how long. So, whatever the case may be, right? It's been long ago for him. But for me,
Yeah.
I'm speaking
The
in the
before time.
capacity of actual hours such as like 1 p.m. it being about 8 p.m. here in the Pacific Standard Time. So there's some discrepancies in what the past means, but I think it's amazing to know because you said it best when you said your whole being authentically you, being your whole self, being not compartmentalized, but every part of you is being shown and accessed, and that is a thing that is a reminder for me, right? Like, as much as I wear a mask, when the mask is off, I'm still me underneath it, right? This is a way for me to create a boundary so I'm accessible for the public, or I'm accessible for the moment when I need to utilize it to, be in front of people, right? It's like wearing a stage on your face. That's what it is, right? But when you step off the stage, you're still the same person. You're still gonna have the same thoughts, right? I'm gonna have those moments at night when I'm up writing to who knows what, to how long, for whatever reason, right? Or when I want to get in my graphic design bag or my video editor bag and I want to, see things from a different perspective, or I want to just think intently, right? Think in a very intense but also very thoughtful manner, and in the what do I want to put into the world as an artist, right? I think it's not a thing where you can't break away from the art form, right? The art form is the method, right? And as we like to say, it's the practice, right? It's the practice, the repetition. It's the practice that's most important, right? You want to refine your art, you practice, right? The mastery, usually they say, is within the 10,000th hour, right? They say, oh, once you put in 10,000 hours, you are a master within that. And I can put a list of how many 10,000 hours I've been able to put into different things, right? And I think that you don't get lost along the way when you're on the journey. It's about appreciating the destinations, but more so that journey of self-discovery and refining who you are, right? Getting to the core, right? It's like taking away every layer. Like, I'll beat a dead horse with everything I say. Again, right? You born into this world, you don't get to pick how you start, right? But as you travel and you navigate and you explore, you experience, you're refining who you are, right? You're tearing away the layers, right? Whether you have a loving family or you have a dysfunctional and toxic family, right? Whether you're coming from a place that is also supportive and abundant in resources, or a place that has nothing. If you can hear this, you have access and the ability to know. You get to determine from this moment forward, in some capacity, in some way, who you want to be. Who do you want to be, right? And I feel like art is a creative process. And through that art, you're not only creating things, you're also creating your identity. So, I feel like when you said that, right? Like, it's not about, you not being yourself at all times. You're authentically you, right? Society may try to make stereotypes or predetermined notions of who you should be. And you being an artist, especially to me, like, it shines so much brighter than just what people try to adapt to and live within, right? Like, you're not living within the boundaries. You're like, you're defining yourself beyond a boundary, beyond the limits. And I think that's incredible, right? Like, when Alfluent's over here eating multiple burritos in an hour, right? He's expanding in mass because he's creative in his ability to work, right? It's that work that he does. The art of sculpting your body is a totally different dedication, but it's still a practice. It's still a method, right? Whether you're acting and getting ready for the stage, or you're just trying to take care of yourself, there's a method to it all. And I think that, when it comes to the arts, that's what I take from it, right? I mean, I think it's, again, important for people to explore at their own leisure. Don't doubt yourself. People are like, oh, I'm not talented, I don't have a talent. Be patient with yourself, be forgiving with yourself, and be willing to fail, be willing to explore, right? Like, you know failure, right? Affluent, what does failure look like when it comes to the creative process for you? How do you deal with failure?
Um, I think failure is a welcome friend. I think growing up, I used to be a lot more rigid in my relationship with failure. Uh, a lot of lack in acceptance, and failure for me really is learning something new about what doesn't work. Um, and the more I learn about what doesn't work, the closer I am to finding what does. And the more often you can fail, the quicker you come about it. I think it's important to give 110% in effort and energy to finding where the limit is. Uh, I like what Brittany was saying about like being your whole self, and instead of compartmentalizing, um, you know finding ways and finding the energy even to be that whole layered cake instead of columns. When you consume the cake, right, you have each layer comes together, right, in a slice, right. You don't do one layer at a time. Sometimes it happens, but most of the time, the beauty and the the design of the cake is to enjoy all the flavors together. And when we look at our design and we look at who we are and the themes in our life, and what's been taken from us and what we've gained, and what you struggle with, what you excel at, where you thrive, all those things make you who you are. um, and as artists, there's something unique about artists in that if they're looking to create something, they're always looking at what's not there, right? Instead of accepting the world the way it is, right? They're saying the world is in need of something that isn't there, right? Even a reflection with new words is, different, right? So if everyone stares into a pool of water, no one's looking at it at the same angle, right? It's like if everyone is looking at a reflection, right, they can all have a different perspective, even if they're, standing as close to each other as possible. They're seeing it differently. And one may see waves and the other may see ripples, right? And those words describing the same thing can mean something different to each person. And so when creatives say, well, I need something, I need to put up something new out there. And maybe out there, it just means out of the brain, right? Out of the heart. It doesn't mean necessarily to share with the public, but they're in the process of creating. And if you can do that and create within yourself, you know, in your own time, right, you can also then create, critical think and say what needs to happen in this situation, in community, right? When I'm interacting with one person or two people or in a group, and what what do we have to accept, right? Say this is the situation, but do we have to accept it? Can we create something new from this situation? Can we create something forward thinking? Can we create something positive, from where we are as artists? We can say, well, we can think and say, there's another way. Let's search for that. Let's seek that in our critical thinking, in our creativity. Find, something new from the situation that we're in. And I think to me that's very important, to always be looking toward that creativity of newness, even if we recycle some ideas and repackage things, um, even within ourselves, within our identity, that we can choose that identity, uh, and choose how we show up. I think that's something that that I want to impart on people today is you get to choose. And if you're creative listening, you're one of the lyrical ones. We appreciate you for listening, and um, continue to critical think, and sometimes just let things flow out of you. Just let whatever you're thinking, whatever you're feeling, find a medium. You don't have to grade it. You can just let it come out, and maybe what you wrote or what you produced 5 weeks ago will connect to something today or tonight, or tomorrow morning, whenever your creative time is. Look at the themes in your life, in the month, in the year, and find out where those things connect.
No, that's real. That's real. Yeah, no, I totally agree in that sense, right? Like what you see lacking in the world, right? You want to make it better. You take a responsibility to want to impart something that you feel will have a positive impact, and let those ripples and those waves take effect. Um, Bespoken, what is your relationship look like with failure, right? How is your relationship with failure, right? Or is it deep? Is it passionate, or is it disdain and distance?
Philly and I have a deep hate for each other, or at least that's the way I perceive it. Failure probably thinks that me and her are cool, but because she's trying to teach me something, and I think she's just there to get on my nerves like a pebble in my shoe. I would like to say that the older, growing, evolving version of me has now come to see failure as a very necessary tool in the process of learning how to understand life and progress and eventually reach success. But most days I'm not that grown up. Most days I'm that kid who's like, you messed up my bouncy house. Get out of here, failure. What's wrong with you? Um, but yeah, I aspire to be the evolved grown up version who's like, thank you, failure, for teaching me this lesson. Thank you for actually protecting me from this thing. Maybe saw you as failure. Maybe I saw this failure as a bad thing, but it's actually a success. Like all of 2020 felt like a failure, but now there's a lot of things that I really wished did not happen or did happen in 2020 that now in 2021 I'm like, thank you, failure, you were actually protecting me from this or shielding me from that or pushing me in this very uncomfortable direction to pull something new out of me. So I don't like failure. I'm not going to pretend that I'm one of those, super evolved people who's like, oh my God, it's such a blessing to have failed. I'm like, get out of here. You're ruining my beautiful picture. What's wrong with you? But I can look back in hindsight and be like, all right, cool. Don't let it go to your head though, failure. Don't let it go to your head.
I hear that. I hear that. I feel that as well. And it's not for me. It's not a hate. It's like for those that for this term may not be familiar to some. I got a little bit of sad boy in me. Okay, there's a sad boy that lives within me, right? And this, those that may not be familiar with sad boy, right? It's this particular imagery of the guy who walks in the rain with no jacket on, with his head down, right? It's like this imagery of romanticizing your sense of sorrow, right? Your sense of pain, and you become accustomed to it, right? It can be toxic for some, and for some, it can be a form of escapism, right? It can be a form of reflection. It could be a form of processing, right? And so there's a name associated with it. And some, they try to maintain that stoic image or that sad look of stoicism, right? It's this still stone like caricature of like, I'm as much as I am phased, I am unfazed at the same time. I'm detached, right? And you got to be careful with that. And I say that because failure for me isn't failure in an action, or it's more times enough the lack of action, right? It's me failing to do something for myself, right? Because if I make music and it's whack, I don't see it as a failure. I just see it as I made whack music, right? If I did something or created something that just wasn't up to par with what I like or what someone else may appreciate, then I'm like, you know what? That's just what I did. But when I don't do it at all, oh my goodness, I will be so distraught, so hard on myself for just not doing. And that's like the superior level of failure to me, right? It's not that I had a flub, right? Like I remember performing one time and I didn't drink enough water that day. I totally changed my lifestyle in terms of how my physical like output was, and I did not rehearse. And I remember getting on stage and getting like halfway through the verse and my mouth was dry. I couldn't get no words out. I got stuck, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe that I messed this up." Right? And it wasn't a failure as much as it was me getting up there and realizing, okay, you failed yourself by not rehearsing enough, right? You failed yourself by not taking care of your body enough, right? You had things you were supposed to do that you didn't do, right? Because the moment wasn't the failure as much as everything that led up to it. So from that moment forward, I remember so many LO presentations and shows. I was like, oh, I'm gonna rehearse up and through this until I hit the stage because I gotta make sure I come correct. I gotta make sure that I bring my best. But what that really was me refining everything that led up to the moment. Because to me, it's not the moment of like, oh, I failed in this moment. It's no, it's what did I do every day before that? How did I fail myself, right? Did I take care of me first, or was I postponing my relationship with myself, right? And so, I totally feel y'all when it comes to the failure and, how you navigate that. Because I think it's different for everybody. And I think that it's important for people to realize and understand like you have to refine the relationship as you see fit and make it what you want, but don't get lost in it. Don't get so distraught with yourself that you're not able to recover, right? Because it is another form of learning, right? Like if repetition is the mother of learning, then failure is the father, right? It's like one of those kind of things where you have to really hone in on how those different practices help you, support you, and are able to nurture you. So, you know, any final thoughts for people, as we get to the cusp of an hour here with the Lyrical Ones episode 39.
I just want to shout out creatives Tremaine Emery with the stars and stripes from Denim Tears, the Denim Tears socks that I picked up, the red, black, and green with
Okay.
with
Okay.
the Pan African colors.
Pan African
Uh,
color.
um, keep creating, y'all.
For
It
real.
matters, and whether you are confident in what you're creating or not. Keep creating because we need new all the time. We need new love. So continue to love what you do and continue to fight for what you love, and fight for a way to try to do it your whole life.
That is the truth. That is the truth. B, any final thoughts as we wrap up on the levels of art and creativeness? Any final words you want to give people?
Yeah, I would say in being an artist and being a creative and being a human in general, be yourself. Don't be the Instagram version of you, the Twitter version, the TikTok version, or, the photoshopped version, or the version you borrowed a piece of from somebody who's already out there. Be your whole real authentic self, because it's almost like uniqueness has been commoditized lately. So people want to be as far out there left as they can be so they can get noticed. But it's like, don't do that either. Be you, because in you trying to be what you think people want you to be, you miss giving us the piece of you in the world that's missing to make the world what it needs to be. So be you. Don't create. I started this thing a while ago called the honest poet, where I'm like, I'm gonna write and say what I say the way I say it. I mean, and if it's not perceived as, whatever enough, that's okay, because this is me. And I have a voice that is meant to reach people, and it won't reach everybody, and that's fine. I don't think the goal is to reach everybody. I think the goal is to be you to the people who you're meant to be you to. And that may not encompass the whole world, but it may encompass the people whose world you're meant to change. So that's my final thought.
I heard that. I heard and feel that. My final words are Happy International Women's Month. Um, Happy International Women's Month, but
Yes.
more importantly, for me. I'm gonna try to find a way. I used to have this widget on my old computer that used to give me Black History every day. It was like this moment in Black History, and it used to just update me. So for me, it will be Black history and women's history for the infinities. It will not. I won't bound it to a month. I'll show up for the month, but I can't let it stay captured and encapsulated in these moments, because there was a joke I seen going around in some of the gaming communities that said, watch on March 1st when all the Black creators are gone, right? It's going to be a snap of the finger and they're just going to disappear, right? Because a lot of people, going back to what I said at the beginning, they see things as an opportunity, right? To create a narrative to capitalize off of, right? Oh, it's Black History Month, so let's put them at the forefront. Do that every day. Don't wait to February. Okay. Now it's International Women's Month. Oh, let's get every shade of woman on every front thing that we have, every front cover, every interview, every moment, facilitate, lead. No, every day from here on out. So for me, I'm gonna do a better job of being mindful and present with that thought. That's my final thought. Yeah, this has been episode 39 of the Lyrical Ones. Again, I didn't say at the beginning, but I'll say at the end. I am Sineo, and I am thankful and grateful and blessed to be here with incredible, wonderful people. Yeah, I guess as we like to do at this time, because now I can do it. Let's see how it goes.
One, 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 one.